Crispine's journey is a powerful reminder that being born close to opportunity does not guarantee success. Because while the world often assumes doors automatically open for those with famous parents, the truth is that expectations can be heavier than obstacles, and Crispine grew up carrying the invisible pressure of legacy. Born into a family deeply rooted in Hollywood, yet determined to earn his place without shortcuts, watching from the sidelines as his father worked steadily. Without superstardom, learning early that talent alone is never enough, and that respect must be built patiently. Quietly and honestly, and unlike many who rush toward fame, Crispine took a slower, more deliberate path, studying English at university. Drawn to literature, depth, and storytelling rather than celebrity, unsure at first if acting was even his calling, questioning himself, hesitating, observing. Because sometimes the most dangerous thing is not failure, but choosing the wrong dream. And it was only after exploring theater and training seriously that he realized acting was not about attention for him. It was about expression, about understanding people, about exploring complexity. And when he finally stepped into Hollywood, he did not arrive as a polished star. He arrived as a learner, facing rejection, small roles, auditions that led nowhere, and the quiet frustration of being underestimated or dismissed as just another good-looking guy, a label that could have trapped him permanently if he had accepted it. But Crispine refused to let appearance define his depth, instead choosing discipline over impatience, craft over hype, and growth over shortcuts. And when opportunity finally arrived in the form of Star Trek, it was not simply a career breakthrough, it was a test of identity, because stepping into an iconic role meant inviting comparison, criticism, and global scrutiny, and yet Chris embraced it with balance, honoring the past while making the role his own, proving that confidence does not mean arrogance, it means preparation meeting courage. And still, even after global recognition, he resisted the easy path of repeating himself, deliberately choosing roles that challenged his image, that revealed vulnerability, moral conflict, emotional weight, and human contradiction, because Crispine understood something most people learn too late, that comfort kills growth, and if you want longevity, you must be willing to confuse people by evolving, and behind his calm demeanor and thoughtful interviews lies a man deeply aware of impermanence, openly reflecting on purpose, masculinity, fear, aging, and meaning. Not pretending to have all the answers, but brave enough to ask better questions. And this honesty is what separates him from the noise of Hollywood, because Crispine is not trying to be loud, viral, or constantly visible. He is trying to be real, and in a world addicted to instant fame, his journey quietly teaches that depth lasts longer than hype. Integrity outlives trends, and self-respect is the most powerful form of success. Because Crispine's story is not about racing to the top, it is about standing firmly in who you are, even when the world tries to rush you, label you, or simplify you. And this steady commitment to authenticity is what turns a talented actor into a lasting presence, and a familiar face into a meaningful legacy. As Crispine moved forward in his career, something increasingly rare in the modern entertainment world became clearer with every choice he made, because instead of allowing success to harden him into a formula, it softened him into awareness, giving him the confidence to slow down while others sped up, to reflect while others reacted, and this quiet resistance to Hollywood's constant demand for reinvention became his strength, as he deliberately selected roles that explored moral complexity rather than surface-level heroism, portraying men who were flawed, conflicted, uncertain, and deeply human. Understanding that true courage on screen often comes from vulnerability rather than dominance, and while blockbuster fame could have easily turned him into a one-dimensional action figure, Crispine consistently stepped away from the obvious to protect his artistic integrity, working in independent films, dramatic roles, and stories that prioritize character over spectacle, because he knew that longevity is built not by chasing attention but by earning trust, both from audiences and from oneself, and this self-awareness extended beyond acting into how he navigated public life, speaking openly about self-doubt, emotional honesty, and the importance of introspection, refusing to perform a manufactured version of masculinity, instead presenting strength as thoughtfulness, empathy, and restraint. which resonated deeply in a culture often confused about what confidence truly looks like. And behind the polished appearances and red carpet calm was a man constantly measuring his inner alignment, questioning whether success still matched his values, whether growth was still happening, and whether he was becoming more truthful rather than more comfortable, because Chrispine understood that the greatest risk is not failing publicly but drifting privately, losing connection with the inner compass that guides meaningful work, and this awareness allowed him to evolve naturally, embracing age, experience, and perspective without fear, understanding that every stage of life brings its own depth if you are brave enough to accept it, and in doing so, he became a quiet symbol for those who feel out of place in loud systems, those who value substance over spectacle, patience over urgency, and authenticity over approval. Because Crispine's journey is not about conquering the world, it is about understanding oneself deeply enough to move through the world without losing integrity. And this lesson, repeated through every choice he makes, whispers a powerful truth to anyone willing to listen, that real success does not shout. It settles, it grounds you, it sharpens your sense of self, and it allows you to grow without losing the essence of who you were before the applause began. As time reshaped both his career and his perspective, Crispine began to embody a rare kind of confidence that does not seek validation, the kind that comes from self-acceptance rather than external praise. And this inner steadiness allowed him to navigate an industry built on constant comparison without losing his sense of identity. Because while Hollywood rewards noise, Crispine chose nuance, and while trends demanded speed, he practiced patience, understanding that depth cannot be rushed and meaning cannot be manufactured. And this patience showed not only in the roles he selected, but in the way he spoke about life, success, and purpose, often reflecting on impermanence, on the fleeting nature of fame, and on the responsibility of using visibility wisely, acknowledging that recognition is temporary, but character endures. And this awareness shaped his evolution as an artist, encouraging him to take creative risks without fear of misinterpretation, to explore stories that challenged conventional narratives of heroism, masculinity, and power, because he recognized that the most compelling characters are those who wrestle with uncertainty rather than conquer it easily. And through these choices, Crispine gradually became more than a familiar face. He became a symbol of thoughtful growth, a reminder that maturity is not about losing passion but about refining it, channeling it into work that reflects wisdom rather than urgency. And what makes his journey especially inspiring is not the absence of struggle but his willingness to sit with discomfort, to question himself honestly, and to resist the temptation to perform a perfected image for public consumption. Because in a world that constantly pressures people to present certainty, Crispine's openness about doubt, reflection, and emotional complexity feels quietly revolutionary. And this authenticity resonates deeply with those who feel overwhelmed by expectations, reminding them that it is okay to evolve slowly, to change direction thoughtfully, and to value inner alignment over external applause. And as his career continues to unfold, Crispine stands as proof that success does not require constant reinvention of the self, but rather a deepening relationship with it, an ongoing commitment to truth, balance, and growth. And this commitment is what allows his work to carry weight beyond entertainment, transforming it into a reflection of life itself, where meaning is found not in how loudly you are seen, but in how honestly you live, create, and move forward. As Crispine continued to mature both personally and professionally, his journey began to reflect a deeper understanding of balance, the kind that comes only after confronting one's own fears, limitations, and illusions. Because while many chase relevance endlessly, he learned to value presence, choosing to live within his work rather than perform around it. And this grounded approach allowed him to step into leadership roles with calm authority, whether guiding ensembles, producing stories, or shaping narratives that emphasized humanity over spectacle. And through these experiences, he discovered that influence does not come from dominance but from trust, from listening as much as speaking, from being willing to carry responsibility without needing control. And this perspective reshaped how audiences saw him, not as a traditional star chasing the spotlight, but as a craftsman committed to honesty, exploration, and emotional truth. And what makes this evolution powerful is that it mirrors the internal journey many people face as they grow older, the realization that success without meaning feels hollow, and that fulfillment comes from alignment rather than accumulation. And Chrispine embraced this truth openly,